Welcome to Burn the Ship. This is the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We talk to people that have walked the walk, talked the talk, been through all the things that we experience as small business owners, and come out the other side with more experience, more skills, more knowledge that they're willing to share with us so that hopefully we can run a more successful business. So, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it. And anybody that shares their time with me, shares their time with the audience, gets to know us, let us get to know you. It means a lot to us. So thank you for spending some time with us. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business?
I appreciate you having me. My name is Charles. I'm also known as the Tattooed Inspector. I own Safe House Home Inspectors. We provide residential home inspection services all over the Phoenix, Arizona Valley. We do a little bit of commercial as well, but we started at a time where the stereotype around home inspection was like the Armageddon kind of everything is wrong with the house, it's going to fall down, or it was a completely incompetent person. So we tried to bring an aspect of education to the home inspection world and kind of change marketing around that, where like a new age was kind of taking over in that industry. So we tried to take advantage of that and kind of like lead the way as best we could, while still keeping it very community oriented, which was awesome. So it's 2 years in a row we've been voted as the best home inspection company in our area, which is
Nice.
awesome, especially because we've been so community focused. To get that feedback was really great. You know.
So tell me kind of your background. Like, how did you get into this home inspection world? What was kind of the story that led you to start doing what you're doing?
So I've been involved with construction pretty much my whole life. I got into civil construction in my kind of mid to late 20s. Bounced around quite a bit. There's a lot of work to travel, but I ended up breaking my back for a second time. So it was no more labor intensive work. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I heard about this home inspection thing. I started looking into it, the licensing process, and started getting into it. And I really started to like love it. Like that first year was just kind of like figuring out what it was all about, what I wanted to do, and when you're benefiting people's lives, like if you do it the right way, you're benefiting someone, and their well-being. You're making them happy during like a completely, like an insanely stressful process, and that was just something that like I was hooked. Just seeing the look on like someone's face when you can like break down issues but get them to understand it and make them okay with it, so it doesn't scare the crap out of them, was something that I just like I wanted to keep doing and keep doing. So I got into it kind of just by happenstance, but I stuck with it because I loved it.
So where does that so you find this love for home inspection, right? You're getting into this industry, and from what I understand about home inspection, there's a big barrier to like,
Mm.
and is Arizona a licensing state?
Yes. Yep.
So you're going through the process of getting your license, and then you have to do like 120 inspections where you're with someone else training or something like that. I think in Massachusetts you have to do a certain amount of training as well. In Arizona, you kind of have to find someone
Yeah.
that's doing this already and shadow them for a certain amount of it. So, what was the whole like overcoming that barrier like?
The overcoming the barrier was intimidating at first, just because I was it's all brand new to you, like unless you have friends or family that are into it. So the schooling part was kind of straightforward. It's school. But going out and finding, like you were talking about, what they call parallel inspections, where you're doing an inspection, you're like doing a ride along with a home inspector, and learning on the job. And what I found out, the best way to do that is to do as many parallel inspections with multiple different home inspectors as possible, because everyone has like their own way or their own rhythm of doing a home inspection, and like how they look at things and where they're going about. Like it's really important to get that exposure. And this was actually something that we started changing very, very early on, was taking advantage of the parallel inspections to learn things from other home inspectors that have been doing it for 5, 10, 20 years. was really, really important, because as I was told during that process, take as much education and information as you can right now, because as soon as you get fully licensed and go out on your own, all of these other home inspectors are going to look at you as competition and they're not going to help you, which to me seemed nuts. Because if all of us can work together as a whole, I think it's the same with any industry, but if all of us can work together as a whole and like share knowledge, any bad stigma about that industry or about the people that work in the industry can be taken away, because you can all learn from each other. So what we started doing very, very early on was educating via social media, encouraging home inspectors that were either curious about getting into the field or were just like newly licensed to come to us with like any questions that they had. We offered advice if they wanted it, trying to help them kind of speed up that growth and getting into the industry, and like help them perform better inspections or do better in their business, like period. So like telling them issues that we had very early on so that they didn't have to go through them. Like little misstep here. Hey, if you would just do this, it's going to work out 10 times better. Trust me, because I did that. Like I took that misstep. Try this instead. So trying to change that culture. And I think we were really, really doing it, especially here in our community. We have a really good group of guys that are, a couple of years in. Some of them are brand new, but like we're all sharing information. Another home inspector that I'm friends with, they started organizing like poker nights for other home inspectors to just come and hang out, like share knowledge, talk about home inspections, and really make that industry feel like a community where there was never one before. So it was really cool to see that, and it's just continuing, and it's awesome.
Our home inspectors decent poker players.
Some of them are. Yeah, I am not one of them. I
Fair
can't
enough.
I can't sit there and do that. I don't know what it is, but I mean I
Fair
enjoy it.
enough.
It's not good.
Um, I think a little bit of the secret sauce, at least from what I've heard, from talking to a couple of my existing clients that are in the home inspection space, and we've had a home inspector or two on the podcast. It seems like really some of the art of your industry is how you explain exactly what is wrong with a house,
Yep.
right? Because
Yeah.
there's no perfect house. Even
Right.
new construction gets inspections in our area, right? So
Oh,
there's nothing ever that is created perfect and that you don't want to get inspected. But someone explained to me one time, he asked me, is the window screen broken or is the window screen not installed? And I didn't understand what he meant by that until he was like, if I tell you your window screen is broken on this house I was getting inspected for myself, right? He was like, if I tell you everything that's broken or damp or dark or any, he's like, you're gonna run away, and the realtor that is talking to you is never gonna talk to me again in my life, right? But if I write you, this is not installed or this needs improvement, or he's like, so explain to me how you get to learn the jargon that helps you continue to have those relationships with realtors that will trust you to inspect a home for someone that is looking for purchasing.
yeah. Continuing education would be by far and away the biggest thing that will benefit in communication. Um, like I always tell inspectors, like the home inspection itself is important, but how you're communicating the findings and the issues to the buyer or homeowner is 10 times more important than the inspection itself. So what we do, and I don't want to say that we like started this, but there weren't a lot of people doing it when we started like getting into it and making it popular, is instead of just sitting in front of a textbook or doing like a class, like a online class, we started contacting tradesmen in our area, so roofers, plumbers, AC guys, and we started going out to jobs with them or having them come to us and teach us these things, to where we could. There's this old saying is, if you can't explain something to an 8-year old, you don't really understand it. So
Right.
learning that from the guys who are doing it every day and have been doing it every day for 30 years, it gives you this level of understanding of these components and systems in the house to where you could explain it to an 8-year old, to anyone. And after that, it was framing it in a way that, listen, you're not, it's not cool to give this person who is under a ton of stress, who is looking at this house like this is where me and my family are going to live. It's not cool to give them bad information. So don't get excited to like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. You want to explain to them what is going on and why. And if you can get them to understand like this system, like, okay, there is an issue, this isn't performing the way it should be, this is why. So this is how it's supposed to perform. Like on its best day, this is how it's supposed to form. This is what is going on, and this is what happened. Like this, like cause and outcome. So learning how to explain those things and learning the systems has greatly benefited that way. And like we've become known for the people that can communicate like effectively to these buyers and to the agents. And that, I think that's what has given us like so much notoriety in our community, and we've grown pretty quickly, I think, because of our approach to it. Yeah.
So and talk to me a little bit about your brand, right? So like, how did you establish your brand? How did people get to know you? How do people feel about it?
So I understood very quickly. I guess I have pretty much my whole life. I don't look like the typical home inspector. You know, typical home inspectors are either like older men who are getting out of the high labor intensive jobs, or they're very clean cut individuals. I'm covered in tattoos, my torso, legs, everything. So I understood that I didn't look like the normal home inspector, and I kind of owned that as much as I could. So I branded myself the tattooed inspector and put a lot of my marketing into branding me along with my company. So it like gives me this like dual advertisement. And after that, after I like kind of like owned it, and I'm like, okay, maybe I look like a criminal, but have a conversation with me. Like, let me prove to you why you should even take a chance on me. And after I like kind of kicked the elephant out of the room on how I looked, it opened everything up to where I could start having at least a conversation with people, and then just like opening doors and just trying to get in everywhere I could. In like our target clientele is not home buyers. It's the real estate agents who represent those buyers. They are the most solicited professional in almost any industry that I've seen. So
by a lot.
Yeah. So trying to sell them is never going to work. You're not going to get a response. You're going to get, oh, call back later. Like you're just going to get brushed off if you just attack and like try and sell. If you try to build relationships without asking for anything first, they start to develop like a trust, and you build an actual relationship with them. So kind of like putting all of that in front and then just like making friends with people has built the brand enough. And because of all that education that we had mentioned before, that made us able to offer a value up front. So like we're building relationships, we're offering value, and not asking for anything until we're approached about hiring us for their client or to use us in this situation. So that has been huge. We understood very early on that if we could provide enough value, we would almost be an authority on that topic. And with that alone comes a huge amount of trust. And trust is huge in any industry, but trust was really huge in the real estate industry because there's so much on the line. And like every single one of these transactions, like the people's emotions, financially, like there's so much there that if you don't have any kind of trust, you're never going to get a call, or you're not going to get a repeat call.
Biggest investment of your life, right?
Yeah, by far. Yeah.
So yeah, I think to throw another piece on top of that, because like I literally have tattoo itch on my entire leg right now. Like just got it done. Like I can relate. It's kind of the reason I like I got a bunch of them. My whole back's done. You know what I mean? Nice. So like, unfortunately for me, the younger generation has not gotten to the point where they own a bunch of businesses yet and they have a bunch of money.
Yeah.
But one day they will, and they won't mind my tattoos. But they are getting to the point where they're going out to the real estate world and selling real estate, right?
Yep.
So, like, for the mid-20s first sales position, real estate agent that on average makes $7,000 a year and has no listings and bird dogs everything they, like it's hard. It's a hard life for
Yeah.
getting into the real estate space. It's not an easy thing. But I think additionally, what your idea of branding does is that it makes you approachable to those
Yeah.
people, right? It makes you think, oh, if I was to look at a lineup of these people, this is the guy that I would approach because he seems like he knows the most about where I'm at in my life right now, right? So I think it's going to continue to do wonders for you as my generation and the generation below mine just continues to get into that early entry level sales position in the real estate world because you're going to be able to build a relationship with those people on common ground.
Yeah.
They're not going to relate to the 70-year-old home inspector that's been a project manager for 30 years and then went out on his own. You know what I mean? They're just not going to be, you're not going to have the same competitive advantage if you're that person building that relationship with the 23-year-old real estate agent that just graduated college and isn't even exactly sure she wants to sell real estate. You know what I mean?
100%.
So,
Yep.
no, I think it's really cool. I think you should lean into who you are, really just talking to the audience here, but just lean
Yeah.
into who you are because there's opportunity for you everywhere. And I think hiding it is one option. Going at it head on is a much better option. You'll feel much
Yeah.
more comfortable about yourself, and you're building a relationship based on transparency and not secrecy, right? So I think it's always the better way. Well, tell me this from your perspective, right? Like, what's kind of been your superpower? What is that thing that you do well that kind of separates you from the rest of your industry? And it may be something that we already talked about, but I'm just curious in your mind, what is that thing that really separates you from the rest of those people in the Phoenix Valley area?
So I just want to back up real quick, and I just want to put something that I was thinking about when you were talking was that like that younger generation too. What's helped us a lot in marketing and advertising was relying heavily on social media. So like providing all of our value through there because so much of that generation is on social media, is using Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, providing value there. Like you're almost building a relationship with someone before ever having any interaction, at least that you know of, with that person. You can build this trust through social media by providing value via reels and posts and all that. So you can build that way. And then as far as leaning into like my superpower, it's been communication. Like
Yeah.
that's what I've noticed. Like me performing inspections, like I'm not light years better than like any other home inspector as far as what I can see, how I understand systems, how the house is supposed to run, how this part of the house is supposed to work. Like as long as you focus on education and understanding the house and like constantly learning, it's a fairly even playing field. At least it should be. Where where I start to shine and the other like team members is the communication that we have is our focus. Like how we are bringing that information to people is the most important part about what we do. So like focusing on that and just being able to communicate what we're thinking and what the issues are, and kind of like walking the client through that, but also having some like empathy, like understanding like this is a Tuesday for
Right.
me, but this is like a monumental step for this person that I am talking to. So like having that empathy and being able to communicate at the same time is huge. Like that alone will build in this industry will build your business quickly. Like within 2 years, you can be where some people are that just don't understand that. You'll be where they are in 4. Like you'll cut it in half if you can just understand the way to communicate and really, really feel that empathy for the other person making this huge decision. So it's really been that focus that has set us apart, and made us who we are.
Sure. Well, how do people find you if they're in that Phoenix area? They want to build a relationship with you. We actually have some people out there. I'll go back and look and see, but I
Right.
think we have some people that are kind of adjacent to your industry out there that I can connect you with. That would be cool as well. So,
Nice. Yeah, I would appreciate that, man. But so I've made it a point to make myself and my company as easy to find as humanly possible. Um, You can start a website. It's got a lot of really good information on there. Safehousehi.com. And then, of course, you can always find us across any social media platform. On Instagram, you can find me personally at Tattooed Inspector. You can find my company, Safe House Home Inspectors, also on social media. Same with Facebook, the exact same on Facebook, same on TikTok. But yeah, so I would encourage everybody to start either with the website, or if you are looking for specific things about the house, we have hundreds of very, very, very informative videos on Instagram. We have a couple on YouTube. We're starting to move a lot more over to YouTube, but by far, there's, I think, close to 400 different videos providing value in different aspects of the home on either one of those Instagrams. So go check those out. And yeah, if you need to contact me, even if you just have questions or you're curious, different regions, I may not have the best answer for that, just because it'll be so unfamiliar, but I'll be able to point you in the direction of somebody who can help.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll put all that in the description of the video as well, so it's easy for people to click. And then from the entrepreneur perspective, right? Like, Burn the Ship is the name of the podcast, because I think every entrepreneur has this moment, like a flip of a light switch, where you decide, okay, I'm an entrepreneur now, right? And everyone is that catalyst is a different thing for everyone. It's your first client, or it's your logo, or the first time you get a T-shirt with your logo on it and you look in the mirror, or, maybe you get a nice hat that has your logo. Maybe, well, it's a different thing for everybody, right? Maybe it's when you get your license, you know what I mean? Maybe it's when you're done with your parallel inspections. Like, it's a different thing for everyone. But once you decide, I'm a business owner now, I got to make this thing work, because I really like the idea of what owning a business can do for my life. You start to do things a little differently, right? You begin to be a little bit more intentional. So I ask you, what has this whole process of owning a business been like for yourself? What has it unlocked for you in your life, and why should the people that are listening that want that same thing not be afraid to take a chance and earn it for themselves?
The process for me, and I'm sure people have heard this a million times, but it's a roller coaster. I mean, life is a roller coaster, no matter what you're doing with it. But like, I was always the person when I worked for other people that had questions about processes, why we were doing things. I was an annoying employee. Um, if you're like that, I would really encourage you to take a look at being an entrepreneur, starting your own business. I'm not huge on side hustles, just because it's splitting attention, but side hustles can also be lucrative and turn into like your full-time thing. But I love taking something and putting everything into it, and watching it grow, and making it grow. There's gonna be a lot of stress. Like, there's no two ways about it. You're gonna be tired, but the milestones that you hit make up for everything. Like, if you are truly working and learning, and understanding your industry and developing ways, so and like you said earlier, everyone is different. You got to put yourself out there. Like, if you think about it, there is no person who is exactly the same as another person, right?
That's a
And
fact.
you need to own that, right? Like, nowadays it's so much about being able to stand out. So if you take that whole no one is the same, if you just be yourself, you're going to be different from everyone else, and you're going to stand out. So find yourself and put everything you have into, whether it be a passion, something that you're just really good at, or something that you want to be good at and you need to learn. Like, put yourself into it and make that thing. Like, you don't need to change yourself. Make that thing about you. Like, put your spin on it. Make it personalized to fit you, how you would do it, how you enjoy it. If you can take that and take some risk, it's hard, it's scary, but you're going to have to take some risks. Like, if you're living your whole life without taking any kind of chances, you are missing out on so many things and so many feelings that you could be experiencing that nothing will ever be. So take that risk, be yourself. and it's a wild ride, man. I would never shy anybody away from it. Like you got to try it
Yeah.
at least once, man. There's always a fallback. You can always go work to someone else. Like, don't think of it that way. Like if you can, like the name of this podcast, burn the ships. Like if you can do that and put all of yourself into it, and like, this is what I'm doing now, this is my life now, you will always get a better outcome no matter what happens. So put all of yourself into it. Don't kind of like scale back, like, well, I have a plan B, I have an escape plan. Because if you do that, you're never going to like full out like send it and try something that's truly special. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Just don't let your beliefs be limiting, because I've said it over and over again. I'm sure you're sick of, if you listen to all the podcasts, I'm sure you're sick of hearing me say it, so I apologize up front. But the people that we talk to on the podcast are normal people. They go through normal life things. They go through different phases in their life. They go through different challenges with their family, when they're with themselves, with their health, with their financial situation. I can promise you that there's well, actually, let me retract that. I probably can't promise you that there's not something in your life that's restricting you from making that decision right now. But more than likely, the thing that you've decided that inhibits you from going all in on your business is rooted in fear, right? It's probably imaginary, and regardless, there are people like myself, there's people like Charles, there's people like all the 400 other people that we've had on Burn the Ship that are willing to be invested in you and your community and help you get through those things that it takes whenever you're starting your business, right? And maybe someone can give you 2 minutes of their time, maybe someone can give you 2 hours, maybe someone wants to mentor you for 2 years, but it takes a aggregation of information and experience that you gain from other people to be, a really sharp business owner early on in that journey. So keep pulling in the information, keep working really hard, take care of your customers, and I promise that you, the person that is listening, is more than capable of doing everything that you've heard the other 400 and something people say on Burn the Ship. We are not so wonderful at our job that we find only the most extraordinary people in the world. That is not the case, right? We talk to a bunch of normal people, right? And we're willing to say, hey, we're willing to learn from you guys, right? I want to learn from you guys. I want to know what you know, because I don't know it. I don't know your industry. I don't know all these different disciplines in the world, and I look at everything from a payments perspective, right? That's my avenue. That's my industry. It's what I've been doing for a long time, and so learning from all these different people has been a huge value to me. So I encourage you guys to keep listening. Lean on me. Lean on the guests of Burn the Ship if you need help getting started. But more than anything, just burn the ship. Take a chance, start getting some data about what's working, what's not, and let's apply it somewhere. Let's try to get something done. I would love to help you guys. So I appreciate you very much for coming on the podcast. Like I said, your time means a lot to us. I look forward to being a part of your network that is valuable to you in the future. So if you have any needs as well, please feel free to reach out to me. I know a ton of people. I've probably talked to 50-something thousand people about credit card processing and, combined in the United States, and 8 years and some change. So, let me know if there's anything that I can do for anybody out there. And more than anything, just take a chance on yourself, burn the ship.
Absolutely.